right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. I'm Bobby Melendez. Robert's my government name. I don't know why I did that. Bobby Melendez. That's Josh Kimmel. Kimmelnator. How you doing, brother?
Yes, the Kimmel Lady. Yes, I'm hanging in there, man. Rough day out here in Tampa Bay. Stormed on us all day. Played Pokemon Go pretty much all day today. Out there in the weather, but I'm here, dry now, thankfully, and ready to talk some wrestling. What a good show, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The Monday night Who Killed WCW. Great show. Can't wait to talk about it tonight.
Great series, man. It was a great series. Nostalgic. This one was a huge what if. After I ended this episode, finished watching, it was a what if for me at the end. Like, man, what could have been? Both sides, whether Eric Bischoff was actually able to complete that sale and do what he was envisioning, or if the original plan supposedly for the WWF was to keep WCW as a separate company and run it as what NXT is now today. For me here, Nashville, Tennessee, Franklin, Tennessee, actually outside Nashville, burning hot. We're under a heat warning. I mean, you don't want it. We were supposed to go to the pool today. Too damn hot. Probably go tomorrow. We'll probably be burned up to a crisp. But I'm from Florida, so I'm used to it. But it gave me time to sit back, relax, watch some stuff, actually catch up on the show. So I'm excited to get into it, man, and talk about this week in professional wrestling. Obviously, WWE again, freaking masterclass in storytelling this week. And I just thought of something else that I forgot to bring up before the show, which was what's his name? Triple H, Paul Levesque, what he called wrestling, WWE, which was they are not a sport, they are movie and they're actors or whatever, something like that. He said, I forgot what the quote was, but I found it so interesting, and I meant to text you about that, and I just remembered right now. But in this world of professional wrestling this week, WWE, I just want to kind of touch on some things, some of the major topics for the stories. Obviously, everything from what's going on with Drew McIntyre, the promo he cut on CM Punk was awesome. He continues to do his best work. The Liv Morgan, not only Liv Morgan Dom storyline, but the Liv Morgan Judgment Day storyline continues to grow, continues to make it more interesting. She buys 20 nuggets or 100 nuggets for Dom, sends him some pictures. We don't know, gets him a PlayStation, starts to kind of win over the guys. The night ends. It's the Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth for the tag titles. She helps seal the deal, pulls off that win for the Judgment Day. They win the tag titles, which again, they could have closed the show and it would have been okay. It would have been cool. We would have felt cool about it. It was the finish where when they get up the ramp and they're holding up those titles, kind of like what R-Truth used to do. She comes up, lifts the women's title right there, the world title, and they kind of look, and then as they kind of go, and they all stick their titles up. So kind of finished with that. Rhea Ripley, obviously not back yet. She just got married, by the way. Congratulations to Rhea Ripley and Buddy Matthews. That's his name, right?
Yes, Buddy Matthews.
Okay, I got it. That's so. I always mix stuff up. Josh has to fix it for me. But congratulations to them. But while she's away, Liv is truly taking her spot in that group. How did you feel about what happened between Liv and Judgment Day last Monday night, and especially that finish?
Yeah, a long time coming, but it was awesome. I love to see it. I was actually happy that the Judgment Day won the tag team titles back from Truth and Miz. Their story was awesome, but it's over now. Time to put the titles back on them. And what a better way to do it than have Liv Morgan actually orchestrate it, help them out, get them on track. And now she's kind of just in the group. Now I'm starting to think, okay, what's next, right? We bring that up on the show all the time. What's next? I think we're going to see that she's not aligned with Dom. She's aligned with somebody else, and it's Finn Balor. And, talking about this on Real Talk Wrestling with Clutch, I don't know how that's going to work. Are we really going to see a babyface Dom when they come back? When Rhea comes back? Because he's denied Liv every single chance. Yes, he receives the pictures, and yes, he eats the chicken nuggets. But when it comes to her love and affection, he kind of just shushes it away and tries to play it cool. Are we going to see a Dom babyface run whenever Rhea comes back? And are we setting up a mixed tag? That's what I'm thinking. And I don't think it's going to work.
I don't think that would work, and I don't see that. Especially since with now I think she's just trying to get in that, we've seen her. They did it before where she came out in the back. If you were paying attention, she was in the back locker room with Dom. She came out of that room. And then they had it where she was coming out of the car with Finn. This was like a month ago. And then,
Mhm.
you bring it up. I think she was in the lock in the room with Finn this time coming out on last Monday night. It's intriguing. I don't know. That's the thing. This story, it's what I like about WWE right now is that this you don't know where the story is actually going. There's a lot of stories going on where you're kind of like you think you have an idea until you don't. Um, and that's an intriguing one. Now, how it finished, I think Rey Mysterio is going to fight him next week. Is that right?
Random, yeah,
Rey and Dom again going
random.
because of what happened with him and or with Liv and Selena Vega. So it's going to be interesting. I didn't even think about that with the Finn Balor thing. I don't know. I can't see Dom. I can't see WWE risking Dom being a face. There's just no way. There's no avenue to do it. I mean, I don't think fans want him to be a good guy. We like him as a bad guy. They still boo him every time he speaks. We love to boo him. We respect the hell out of him because what he's doing is a hell of a job. It's you can't say, oh, he's only well, you could say he probably got his foot in the door because of his dad, but he has this place in WWE because of who he is, what he's been able to do. You know,
Mhm.
the same as I know you're gonna hate this, same as Charlotte Flair. Did she get her foot in the door by her father? Absolutely. Her place in the company where she stands today is on her, what she's been able to do. That's what he has done. Now, she could probably switch back and forth from a face and a heel. The problem is, though, I think she's more heel. I think that's where her selling point is. But she's been able to do it. I don't think Dom can. So I think this is more setting up for uh, a Rhea Ripley and a Damian Priest face turn eventually. We'll have that new reincarnation of Judgment Day with Finn, JD, Carlito, Dom, Liv. And then Rhea, when she eventually comes back, she'll battle Liv. We're gonna think that Dom's gonna fight, is gonna protect Rhea when really he ends up betraying Rhea. However, he does that, and then he'll side with Liv, and this will give Rhea the chance to be that face, which she can do that because the fans love her enough to do it. They cheer her when they don't boo her. They still boo Dom. Uh,
Mhm.
and where Damian Priest, again, I think the stipulation for Money in the Bank, which it looks like it's gonna be one hell of a freaking PLE. I mean, that is coming off really freaking cool. And I love the graphics, by the way. They done it.
Yes.
But the stipulation is if Seth Rollins wins, not only does Damian lose the title, he's out of Judgment Day. And he jumped really quick to say, I'll do it. So that's where I think this is heading. Just my opinion.
That's tough, man, because you're right. You said it perfectly. You don't know where a lot of these stories are going. This is one of the ones where do you really put it on Seth to lose to Gunther at SummerSlam, or do you really keep Damian Priest champion, and Damian Priest and Gunther is not really the marquee matchup as a Seth Rollins and Gunther. That's what I'm looking at. You're looking at the bigger picture of Judgment Day. Like, how does this go on? Does Damian Priest lose? Does he win? Yada yada yada. How does this affect the status of Judgment Day? I'm looking at this whole feud right now between Seth Rollins and Damian Priest, and the situation is, wait, how does this affect Gunther? How does Gunther gonna look in SummerSlam wrestling Damian Priest heel versus heel? He's gonna face Seth Rollins. So this is gonna have to lead to Damian Priest leaving the Judgment Day, leaving Finn Balor in charge, which will grant Liv Morgan into the group.
Absolutely. And I think that's perfect. And like, again, what would it mean more for Gunther? Would beating a Damian Priest for the title or beating a Seth Rollins? And you go, well, but Seth Rollins is going to win it to lose it? Yeah, that's what he is. He is a veteran. Winning the title is great. You're adding a hole in the belt. You're adding another staple to his resume as another world's champion. He doesn't. He could do a long reign. He could do it. He just did it. And that's why, like, after he won the title or he lost it on WrestleMania, he was crying backstage, hugging Triple H. It wasn't a goodbye. It was probably like, hey, it's goodbye to this chapter of my career. Now I'm going to be one of those guys who, yeah, I'll win a title, but I got to drop it to kind of elevate this next guy in Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's perfectly fine. It would mean more for Gunther to beat someone like a Seth Rollins than would it be to Damian Priest. Now, Damian Priest, he's been doing a great job. I think he should be a face. I love the inter, between Spanish and English and the promos he's been doing. I love his but I think the chase is better than what he's doing right now. I think if he drops it, those other storylines he could be in, especially the feud between him and maybe Finn Balor that's coming up, will be a very good one for him, especially as two former world champions going at it, who could still be involved in major storylines, especially for that world title hunt, But it just makes a lot more sense. Now, sticking with Raw, Monday Night Raw, Chad Gable makes his miraculous return.
Yes.
I was cool with that. I like how they kind of did it. It was funny. He tried to make amends with the guys. They said, "We're sorry what happened to you. We're done with you." Otis and company. Goes in the ring, has the triple threat, wins the match. He's celebrating, kind of like the Undertaker gong. You hear the which the crowd popped. We all went, "Oh, there it is! It's here!" The ring fills with smoke. Here comes Sister Abigail. So Nikki Cross comes in crawling. He dips. She gives a VHS cassette, which is kind of funny to me. VHS cassette to Michael Cole, and they play it. And at first, truth be told, I'll let you run with it right after this. At first, I didn't know how to feel about it. At first I was kind of like, "Oh, this is interesting," because I thought he was going to be maybe, because we didn't know what happened to Pat McAfee at first.
Yep,
now we know, and condolences to his wife for the loss of her father, etc. But I was like, "Oh, wait, did they kidnap Pat McAfee? And maybe did the Miss run away or something, or did he get kidnapped?" But it wasn't. It was Bo Dallas, and they on YouTube they named him Bo Dallas. He's not by his regular name. He's Bo Dallas, and it was Uncle Howdy with Bo Dallas. And at first, when I saw it was him, I was kind of, because I remember we discussed and we're like, "Man, this should stay as a cult type of feel to it." I'm cool with the little bit of paranormal here and there, that type of feel to it, because that's Bray Wyatt. It's a tribute to him. I didn't, but I'm with you on the whole. Let's not overboard it. Let's not have them appear and then disappear and everything else. She walked through the arena. She went away that way. You didn't see her just disappear, which was cool. They did the interview, Uncle Howdy and Bo, and man, that is cinema. That is storytelling. I mean, and it felt real. It didn't feel like it was scripted at all. You could see the emotion on his face, and then to see when he cuts to Uncle Howdy, and of course now he has his face, his mouth is showing, and the way they kind of distorted his voice, it was like, "Oh, that's creepy as hell." Like, these people, you don't want to. So again, at first I didn't know how I felt about it, because I was kind of like, "Oh, okay." And then when I started actually paying attention and seeing how it was going, I could feel, I was like, "Damn, this is too real. This is not," even though it's Bo Dallas, it's not Bo Dallas talking. Obviously he's integrating why he's turned into what he is now, but it's from the heart. We were supposed to rule together. We were supposed to do this, and now it's not. And then we're going to teach them. And it was like, damn, okay. So I loved it at the end. Again, feeling how I felt at the beginning, kind of like, and then I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm still with it. I love it. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, same thing. When I saw the video, I thought it was really cool, thinking, "Oh, wow, this isn't supernatural to me. This is something different." At first, when Nikki Cross came out, the slow smoke, and walked away slowly to the back, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, and I know all you guys think I hate everything. I was like, "This is awful. What are we doing? Like, what is this? Why didn't she chase Chad? What's her motivation? What did she hand Michael Cole? Like, what is going on?" And then at that point, truth be told, I turned it back to Game 7, and I never went back to Raw, because the game was so good. Oh, sorry, but I did watch Raw the next day.
You're damn right. It was so good.
It was a very good game.
It was a great game.
Yeah, it was overall. Sucky ending, but good game. So anyway, so then I watched it the very next day, going, "Okay, I gotta see what was on that VHS tape," because I know they had to play it. I know they did. So I did. I watched it, and I was hooked. I watched it a few times, actually. I am so into this, way more than I thought I'd ever be. I never thought I'd be anything into a Bray Wyatt / Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy storyline. I thought when they first came out, the first iteration with Vince McMahon, I thought this was the cheesiest, dumbest thing I've ever seen. All they had to do was make it somewhat adult, somewhat TV 14, and somewhat really, really creepy, not cartoon creepy. and I'm interested. I love what Bo Dallas said, and they answered everything. Do you think this is a exploit of your brother? Right? Got into that. That's a touchy
Yeah.
something WWE does all the time. They exploited Eddie's death, right?
Yep.
They exploit a lot of things. Matt Hardy in an Edge situation with Lita. That's what they do. And so people are like, "Oh wow, they're just exploiting another thing." Well, this time the person exploiting it, quote unquote, he's not, but the person who's doing it answered the question on national TV live for everyone to know. That's what I really liked about this segment. It was real. And you said the word real multiple times. This was a real, I take this as a real work, as in he meant everything he said, but he's still in character. And that's when wrestling's at its best. Drew McIntyre's cutting a promo on CM Punk, that's real. They don't like each other in real life. When, Mo Dallas says all the things he said, we were supposed to rule the world, we had everything ready. That was real. They were supposed to do that. That was supposed to be the stable. So love it. Love when reality mixes in with my pro wrestling.
No, you're hitting all the nails on the head, and again, and that's I liked when she slow walk out rather than disappear. You know, to me, I was like, that's what I was waiting for. And again, you know me, I'm cool with the supernatural. I like it's wrestling, it's storytelling, it's movie, it's whatever. But I'm with you on where I think I would prefer the story to go, or how I would like to keep it, and kind of keep it more on the realistic side, on the more of the kind of cult feel to it. So when she kind of appeared from under the ring with all the smoke and everything, and then she just walked out, I was like, okay, that's kind of saved a little bit of it. I saw some security guards beat up on the table.
Yes. Yep.
So what happened there? That's where it's kind of like, we did not see that. We did not see someone get beat up. So that's another supernatural type of thing that I don't, or maybe they were hiding. I don't know. But those are things that. Go ahead.
The smoke alone is supernatural, unless
Yeah.
we're led to believe that Nikki Cross brings a smoke blower everywhere she goes.
And again, as long when I saw something on Finn Balor the other day and I started laughing because I was thinking about it, but it's my thing is what saves them with doing that is that it's Bray. It's a tribute to Bray. Obviously that did not work. I don't know, obviously the character, we all, most people like the Fiend character or like the idea of the Fiend character. The idea of it, because honestly, if you go back and they kind of killed it, they didn't really, how do you call it, take advantage of the hype behind the character, because it could have been maybe the next version, this era's version of the Undertaker. Now the reason why it's so big is because of, like, it's just like anything else, a guy that dies and then you put it on this huge pedestal. Now it's going to be iconic forever, and it didn't really live up to that hype while it was here. Now Uncle Howdy could live up to that hype with this group and obviously pay tribute to that. We're going to see, it's the same thing, so, if the Undertaker had left and then, you got his brother Kane and maybe, the corporate ministry or whatever, something happened to Undertaker, Mark Calloway, if they were to continue that, it would make sense to keep that supernatural portion of it. Obviously, if they don't drown it in that, it works. It makes more sense than Finn Balor, goofy Finn Balor being himself, and all of a sudden the next day he's the demon and he's, sticking his tongue out and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be nervous. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. This does. So Finn Balor's awesome, by the way. Not Demon, the regular Finn.
I like Demon, by the way. For you guys watching.
It is what it is. Anyway.
Hey, that guy who says I don't like anything. Make sure you note this.
We've switched sides. We've had a turn. Now, going to SmackDown. Obviously, I was paying attention to it. I had some stuff going on yesterday, but I was paying attention, kind of going back and forth. But for Raw, let me go back to Raw very quick. Yes, I was switching between three different things, and you had the College Baseball World Series, just probably dipped into that a little bit, got out of it. I was really focused on Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and then of course Monday Night Raw. But Stanley Cup Final, that was a freaking game. I'm telling you, Josh, at the end, I don't think I could breathe. I was like the edge. I've never felt that way about a hockey game.
Right.
I was at the edge of my bed. I was standing at the edge of my bed. My son was on me. He was like kind of going like this, pulling me. I was like, dude, chill. And he was like, and I was like, because they were like at the edge of that corner at the final, but Edmonton was coming so hard. They were fighting so hard. Like I could feel like, oh, this is gonna tie. This is gonna suck. We're going to overtime. And then when that final, it was till the final breath. What a freaking game! Obviously great because my home team won. I can feel what you're Tampa Bay, obviously, so you're not gonna like it, but it's cool. So it was a great game. So I can understand why you couldn't finish the show. Bloodline though, I want to touch on this about SmackDown. Obviously, cool moment. Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton comes in, kind of old school kind of feel to it with WCW at the two basketball stars. So reportedly, WWE is not happy with Fox. There was a lot of censoring because the fans were saying F Indiana or F the Pacers because they were in Madison Square Garden. Obviously, Triple H has said, Paul Levesque has said that once they go to Netflix, that's not going to be an issue anymore. Obviously, that's for Raw. Where SmackDown's going to USA, right?
USA.
Okay, so they're still going to have some leeway. They're not going to be able to have that on there. So they're obviously looking forward to that change because they weren't happy yesterday with the censoring. But very cool. LA Knight pinned Logan Paul. That happened yesterday, so that kind of sets up going forward what's going to happen. Does Logan Paul actually drop the United States title to LA Knight? We'll see. I think that'd be great for LA Knight, but I think Logan Paul's done a lot for that title, promoting it, bringing it on his show. He's been on multiple shows with that belt as the centerpiece. Shows that have nothing to do with professional wrestling. It's always there. So obviously he's been a great ambassador. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kept it, but I kind of couldn't see LA Knight finally getting a run with a belt. But what mattered the most? Probably, we've discussed this. I think it was on the first show. The best storyline in WWE history. I saw an argument today that it's probably the best storyline in wrestling history. Was the Bloodline. We've discussed that in WWE, even next to Austin, Austin Rock, Austin McMahon. You have different ones. Wrestling is a bigger picture, but with WWE, there's a good amount of stories that you could say this was amazing. The Undertaker and Kane brother feud, Austin McMahon. There's so many good ones. Austin Rock. There's so many great stories that you could pick from. But we talked about how maybe the Bloodline is the greatest storyline. Now it's kind of since WrestleMania. Roman Reigns has taken his much needed vacation. This group, the main group, has separated. Jimmy Uso is out. He's been written off TV for a while. Jey Uso's killing it on Raw. He's on the Money in the Bank, but he has nothing to do with the storyline. So we have this new group. We've got Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, who's brand new. He's been very hyped coming in, and he's killed it so far since being in. I mean, he has a legit aura to him. To me, I think like when you see him, you're like, oh, dude, that like you could feel it. And I love watching his stuff. I just started watching interviews from him. I love the way he carries himself. I love the way he talks. He loves the Usos. The other two guys, the Tunga brothers. Again, even though we all know how legit these guys are, and we respect and love their family. Obviously, Sika, Roman Reigns' father passed away, so condolences to them. One of the greatest tag teams of all times. Passed away, so there was a tribute to them, a great tribute by WWE. Anyway, even though we love this story, we love these wrestlers, we love these what they put up on here and their families. Ever since Roman Reigns left, ever since WrestleMania, it's kind of stalled out. It's hard for me before yesterday to believe in Solo as the tribal chief, or this legitimate badass guy, because again, WWE kind of fumbled the bag, I think, a little bit, making him lose a bunch of fans. They didn't keep him as that tough guy, thing where it's like, oh, you should be the next tribal chief, even though Roman kind of gave him that. There was a ceremony a while back that Roman said, "You're the next in line." But yesterday, the way that what's been saving this storyline is the one who saved it last night. Is the one who put probably the best performance in the main event at Madison Square Garden, which was Paul Heyman. He's been saving this storyline on his emotion, the way he's been acting alone, the facial expressions, everything. Last night, when he was out there in the ring, it was an acknowledgement thing, whatever, in the ring, and he said those two words, which you shouldn't say. It's like if you're a Christian, or you don't say the Lord's name in vain. You just don't. You kind of you try not to say, or let's say what's it, Beetlejuice. Don't say it 3
Yep.
times, or the Candyman. There's some things you don't say.
Spooky.
You just don't say something. But what he said was, acknowledge me. There's only one man who should be saying acknowledge me, and that's Roman Reigns. So when he said that, and you see Paul Heyman go, whoa, what are you doing? And he said, everybody acknowledge me. And all of a sudden everybody came up and they said, acknowledge. And then he got to Paul Heyman. And of course he said, I love you, Paul. I'm going to listen to you. You're my counsel, my wise man. And he says, acknowledge me. And then he just sells it. The facial expression. He's kind of like has a little beard coming in, and his eyes are baggy. He's crying. And he goes, Solo, I love you, but I don't acknowledge you. What was the word? He's like, I acknowledge that you are not my tribal chief, or something that way. The pop from the crowd, the pop from my bedroom chair, sitting there watching TV, watching this, the pop that was going on probably was huge. It was like when Sami Zayn belted Roman Reigns with the chair. What a moment. Gets Samoan spiked. It's funny how Paul Heyman goes from one of the most hated guys in wrestling, most annoying, to the one of most loves that you're like, dude, stop, leave him alone. Like, you feel for him. I think he gets lifted up, and you can see Solo kind of goes for a little bit of a save because like Paul's falling. They go, oh shit, because they love him. We know that, right? But they lift him up, and you see Paul's face, and it's still, even though I'm sure that was a real reaction to him. Okay, I've been about to take a big bump here, and he goes through that table, and it was a bad bump. I mean, that was a big time bump. From a 58-year-old, I don't know how old he is, but he's in his mid-50s, late 50s.
I would say 60s.
Yeah, he's somewhere in that area. But he took a massive bump, which just sold it so much more. And now you're like, okay, we're on the other end of this now. This just saved this story. I'm more invested in this story. I want to see where this goes. Nobody saved Paul Heyman last night. Nobody saved Paul Heyman. No one was going to. There's only one guy who's going to revenge Paul Heyman, and we know that. So it's always like, now every time there's a main event, at the end of every PLE, and especially at the SummerSlam, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. There's no way Solo's going over unless something out of nowhere happens. And they totally flip the script on us. I mean, if you really want to put Solo over, beat Cody Rhodes. That's the only way you save this in regards of Solo. Because Solo, the way I feel about Solo versus Cody is the way I'm going to feel about Solo versus Roman. Because to me, it's like, there's no way you're beating. Now, it has to be, like you said, the War Games type of matchup. Then I give it to, but like Roman versus Solo, there's no matchup. I don't believe you're going to beat Roman. Roman's going to kill you. But if you come out, I'm just saying, if you come out, SummerSlam, Solo beats Cody, shock of them. We're going to be shocked, right? You'll be at home. You and I will be, whoa, well, of course, we'll have a reaction after. It's the after that. We're going to be at the edge of our couch waiting for when you see that little symbol pop up in the corner. You're going to be going, okay, you're going to wait for that. You're going to wait for that Roman Reigns theme. That's what they just did after last night. You got a chance. I know you were talking before the show, so you got to see it afterwards. You were busy. Life happens. Brother, you got a chance to see it. You probably heard about it. People were probably messaging. You probably went online and saw some of it. After you finally got a chance to watch it, are you feeling what I'm feeling about now, this story? What happened last night to Paul Heyman, did it save this version of the Bloodline?
Yeah, it did. And it also made me start brainstorming in my head of how I would book what's going to happen going forward. You think Roman's going to debut at a end of a PLE? I don't think that's true. I think he's returning on a SmackDown. I'm here for it, and I envisioned this. I thought about this since Friday, or since I saw the clips. You can't have Solo win, obvious, right? What is Solo's biggest thing coming out of WrestleMania? Everyone lost. Jimmy, you lost. Roman lost. I'm the new tribal chief. So if Solo loses, shows his face on SmackDown, the next SmackDown. Then we have Roman come out. Then we have the real talk. You just lost, Oos or Solo, whatever he calls him. I'm going to take my position back as tribal chief and pretty much kicks him out. And now that we have Roman back, we get Paul back, and now Solo's the outcast, which makes him kind of angry, resentful. I took over. I was the tribal chief. He comes back and takes my spot, and then we have them feud with no title. But I don't want that. I really don't want that. I don't even want Solo in the main event. To me, I was expecting Rock. I was expecting Roman. I wasn't expecting Solo. I'm not happy that they're wrestling at SummerSlam. I think it's a waste. I think that we all know. I think SummerSlam and WrestleMania should be we don't know who's going to win. Instead, we get a glorified squash match that we know Cody's not going to lose. So, did it save it last night? Yeah, because the potential what's going to happen when Roman comes back. That's what I'm looking forward to now. Is it saving this match at SummerSlam? No, but that wasn't the question. The question was, is it saving the story? Yes. Paul Heyman getting powerbombed through the table, getting beat up, saved a lot of stuff because now we're going to see Roman come back and take care of business. And that's what we all want. The crowd's been chanting, we want Roman since WrestleMania. That's what the fans want right now. He's the most over wrestler they have, and he's not even on the show. I'm excited. I am excited for the return. Not excited for the upcoming match or the rest of this feud with Cody. I don't think it's right.
And that's why, like, you see, because I'm with you. I can't envision a reason why Cody would even want to face Solo or why Solo thinks he's in line. There's no legitimate thing where it's like he had a master run. He's beaten Randy Orton. He's beaten LA Knight. He's beaten Kevin Owens. He's like this, and he has these guys behind him. Now it's more believable. Now, yeah, you should get a title shot. You're running rampant on SmackDown. You should get a chance. But he hasn't really done it. All he's done is he's forced his way in to be the tribal chief. He's finally taken on that role. Last night he announced, I'm the new tribal chief. Acknowledge me. You're forcing your way in. What have you done? It's like, oh, but look what he did way before. Look what he did. It's not about this. What have you done for me lately? That's what it is. And there's nothing you have done lately that would put you legitimately in that spot. So the only way that would make sense to me, like you would say, oh, he goes in, he loses, comes back the next Friday night. Whoa, dude, you lost. Like, why are we going to listen to you? It kind of kills it a little early for me. Mm-hmm. But if he goes in, and I guess now we're playing Booker here. If he goes in, you go to that match, and you and I as viewers are kind of like, yeah, okay, we're going to watch this. These are two badass guys in the ring. We know they could put on a show, but it just doesn't make sense. Like you said, it's a glorified squash. We know Solo's going to lose until we don't know Solo's going to lose. You know what I mean? Where Cody, we know he's going to hit the triple crossroads. It's going to happen. He's going to, veins in the neck, and there's that big tattoo bulging. He does it. Now here comes the rest of the crew. Now here comes the game changer. What Solo usually is now is I was about to say Caesar Sokoa, but Jacob Fatu. The shocking moment, because we all think Cody's going from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. We all believe it. Or at least we, part of us do. If you pull that rug from under them, everybody keeps saying Cody's better as a chaser than he is as the title. We love the chase more than we love the defense. So the belt is always better on the villain because he's the one who's running. He's the one who's always kind of good, especially when you have somebody behind. That's why Roman obviously carried it by himself alone, but he had that crew behind him. You respected the bloodline. When you saw Jimmy and Jay and Solo, and you knew Paul Heyman. It was like, and then Sammy was like the odd man out, but it was funny. That was cool. Now you got these four badasses, But again, it's like Tonga being the challenger. That's how I feel about it. It's kind of like, what have you done? What have you done lately? I don't see it. Now, if you go in that ring and all of a sudden it's 1, 2, 3, Solo goes over. The crowd, Cody's in shock. He's staying in the ring. You have, the guys behind him giving it up. It's like, oh God, this is it. You are truly now, you've done it. You've done what Roman couldn't do, which was beat Cody. Of course he did, but you know what I'm saying? Now you're truly the tribal chief. Maybe, you think of, I don't know if you remember back in the day when Kane was out, and then all of a sudden you hear Paul Bearer's voice. Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden you hear the music and you go, what's happening? And then the lights shut off and then King comes out. You see Paul Heyman come out from the ramp. He's standing there. Or you hear Roman's music. They all get shot. If Paul Heyman comes out, they go, oh, dude. and all of a sudden Roman comes out.
Yeah.
That crowd's going to pop. It's remember, you think of Rome, Roman had that with John Cena. He had that with Brock Lesnar, the ultimate pop, the shock. That's the only way, to me. You save Solo. You make Solo look like a legitimate guy now. Even though you would go, man, he doesn't do. You give him that strap. You make him a legitimate guy. Now Roman is going after him in that title and the title of the Tribal Chief. Those guys are truly behind Solo. People are, of course, speculating that Roman's going to go to his cousins, Jimmy and Jay. We're brothers. I'm sorry. I'm on the. Let's come back with me. Yeah. Somebody saying about Sammy. I don't know how Sammy would actually.
Sammy's getting in.
Do you think so?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm saying? Has to. But imagine the pop. You see what I'm saying? I'm getting goosebumps right now. Imagine the pop that would be. Roman comes out. Solo has it all right now. Roman has to get it back. He didn't get back from Cody, but he's going to get it back from him. Someone who stole his title. The title of Tribal Chief. Now he takes it back, and they create a good run. Now Solo leaves better. If Solo's going to lose the belt eventually, Roman could get it back, and Roman is still who he is. But Solo is going to look stronger. He's going to look better. And then, of course, he goes on a solo run. I don't know. To me, that would make more sense than Solo losing, because then it's like, why would Roman give a damn? If I'm Roman Reigns and Solo just lost to Cody Rhodes with these bootleg version of the Bloodline, I'm going to come back and say, dude, you're wearing. I just put another one on. Who do you think really is? Who is Josh Kimmel and Bobby going to acknowledge as Tribal Chief? Me. They're not acknowledge you. Who the hell are you? No, it has to be something strong. Paul Levesque has to say, and Roman Reigns, because we know he has a hand in this, has to say, this might be the best way to do it. And obviously Cody has to sell on it, but I think Cody would.
Here's what I'll say about this, and then I want to move on to WCW.
Yeah.
If that's okay with you. Braun Breaker's winning that title before Solo. I'm just letting you know. That's it. Solo's not
two separate titles. Two separate titles.
Still,
right? I don't
think Solo will ever hold gold. He might hold mid card. He's not world championship material, and I think it's a mistake if they do it. I think it's WCW size mistake if they do that. I do think it's a WCW size mistake if they put the title on Solo.
But again, what are we always talking about? What is something that we've said about what like the Austins and the Hogans and I'm sure the Romans and the John Cenas say? Okay, you want to drop the belt. Cody could say it. Okay, you want to drop the belt. Solo, what's next? What happens next? Solo's not like, oh, he's the next thing. No, he's a stepping stone. And I don't mean in a bad way. You kind of legitimize, because Braun, you could see in the making. You know where he's going. Solo is within this family. You're making him kind of like the Umaga, whatever. Okay, how do you make him legitimate? Why would Roman give a damn about facing his baby cousin, the youngest of the group? Why would he give a damn?
Because he hurt the wise man.
Okay, well, that's different. Okay, he's avenging the wise man. But you got to make him legitimate, because you just beat up an old man. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm just going to beat your ass before the match. I'll beat you at SmackDown. I'll beat you up behind the scenes. It's not going to do nothing. You got, your whole family? Now we got a War Games match. No, but if he beats Cody, which no one expects. You just said it's a squash match. He beats Cody. We're going to flip. Roman comes out after he beats Cody. We're going to jump. It's going to mean that much more. That's all I'm saying.
This just popped in my mind. I don't know if this can even happen. Jey Uso wins that Money in the Bank.
Oh,
Solo wins it at the end. Can we see a potential cash in with Jey Uso winning that title?
And he switches to SmackDown.
And that's how he gets back to SmackDown?
Oh, that would be better. I mean, you still want that Roman pop because he has to defend Paul Heyman. I could see it, though. But, Jey Uso, I think, would be better for him just to always have that Money in the Bank, always teasing it, because you'll never know when he's going to cash it. But it would make a lot of sense if his baby brother wins after a hellacious match, and maybe after Roman comes out and beats the hell out of everybody, you hear that Jey Uso music come. Here comes Jey Uso, because it's not that. Is it just for? It's not just for Raw, right? It's for both brands.
I think it's for both brands, yeah. That'd be super cool. We see Roman
you
we
might
see
be on
Roman.
this time.
Yeah, we see Roman beat the hell out of
And you see like Roman walking back
Hello?
with Paul Heyman, and all of a sudden you hear, it's just me, Oos, and he's running. And you didn't see
Yeah.
Roman and Paul, like, what the hell?
No,
Like, that's
no,
pretty
no, no,
cool.
no, no. You see Roman give him that nod, like
Go
do
get
it. Kind of like when we saw. I don't know if you remember this. Triple H and Shawn Michaels were passing tides, and they both gave each other the nod,
Yeah.
and that was the beginning of the second era of DX when they're older.
Yes, I remember this. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like just something subtle.
All
Just
right,
all
there
right,
you go.
go get it, go get it.
Obviously, you can tell that we're excited about the Bloodline storyline. We're booking it ourselves. That's what we do. But let's get into the final episode of WCW. We're 40 minutes in. First off, everyone who's tuning in right now, we appreciate you watching, and who's watching after and listening to us on podcast formats. Everyone who's tuning in, thank you. So WCW was the final episode. First off, again, credit to Vice and Dark Side of the Ring, and The Rock, who executive producer. This was great. This was it was so good to watch. It was crazy to hear the behind the scenes, because before this, we've all heard the stories from individuals, never all together, all separate. They've had the rise and fall of WCW. They've held all that, but it was never like this, where we got to hear from the executives, because we've all heard, oh, Hogan killed WCW, Eric killed, Vince Russo did it. No, it was the contracts. It was creative. We've heard all of that. We've heard about the booking, not the booking killed it, but also the executives. We heard all that. But this series, I think, because you got to hear from the executives, from different executives in different areas, you got to see a clearer picture of what really went down. Because, yeah, there's a lot of things to be critical about in hindsight of what happened with WCW. But I think this created a clearer picture. And I think to hear from Brad Siegel and Bischoff, you hear the story now today about, it's today because I watched it today, you watch it today, about Jamie Kellner, who's a new CEO. You hear, it's just, damn. It's like, yeah, okay, a collection of things went down that you kind of, in hindsight, kind of go, damn, that I could see how that was kind of cluttered, and it was, but I don't think those things could have killed it. But then you hear what really happened behind the scenes and what really happened since the beginning. And you're like, okay, at least for me, I think I have a clear picture. So starting off with the episode, they start off with the very last day of WCW Monday Nitro. They're showing the behind the scenes. You see that Dustin Rhodes, which is Goldust, what we know as Goldust, Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes' big brother. He's walking around backstage in WCW. He's like, hey, man, do you know what's going on? And Charles Robinson, famous referee, he's like, man, I have the thing right here. And they look at it in the outline, and he goes, Vince McMahon promo or whatever. And they're like, damn, you never think you'd see a Vince McMahon promo. Like, they had no idea what was going to happen. The week before, Eric Bischoff was on WCW TV via phone saying, hey, he was been off of it since the Russo incident with Bash at the Beach, but he's on it going, hey, I'm going to have a bigger announcement, and this could be the final Nitro. We're going to have a major announcement. So you see Ric Flair, of course, going, what? Blah, blah. Of course, we know now what he was talking about, because they were so close to a deal, which is like, this episode for me, let me just say, and we'll get into key details here, but this episode for me, after I finished it, left me in the what if mode. Seriously, like, what if Eric Bischoff and the group he was working with, the investors, were able to buy WCW? What would have happened? Obviously, we know, who knows who could have came back and went in. Who knows if Kevin Nash would have said, hey, you know what, I'm friends with Eric, I'm going to go. Because we know those guys are like, dude, I'm not, because WWE ended up paying, like, oh no, we'll give you guys a buyout and we'll sign you to a cheaper contract. They were not going to do that. Nobody's smart enough. That's why Hogan and Nash and Hall, Goldberg, those guys didn't come until like 3 or 4 years later. That's why the invasion angle was crap. You had mid-carders trying to attack the main eventers on WWE. But what could have happened if he would have done that? And what would have been different? How would he would have said, okay, I messed up last time, or what can I do to make this bigger? Obviously on a smaller scale. I think it could have survived. It could have been maybe what TNA was for a little while. Who knows what it would have been with Eric Bischoff running it. But anyway, before we get into some key details, and me, of course, my take from this at the end was, what if? What could have happened? You watched this today as well. It's fresh in your mind. What did you think of this episode, man?
To me, it was the least. I don't want to say least interesting at all,
That's fair.
but it kind of was to me because they were talking about the main players of people that we didn't see on TV weekly basis. The executives. This was more behind the scenes executives where I want to hear more stories of Hogan and his nonsense and Russo, and I like to hear those stories, to be honest with you. But this was a good educational piece for me because we learned a lot. At least I did. I learned a lot this episode. I learned how Eric tried to save this 1,000 times. It feels like he's been putting a band-aid on this wound for like 10 years. And then the executives keep on saying, nope, rip it off. Rip it off. We're not going to let this heal. We're going to keep on screwing this company up just because we can. But what if? What if they did Vegas? What if they got everything done? Would it be TNA? Right? Would it be as that big, or would they still be big? Would they still be drawing in ratings because they were supposed to be on TNT? Right? That's why the deal didn't get done because they pulled the television. Right? What if? Why did they pull the television? There's so many things I want to know.
And that's why I love it. You can say, because it's what I'm same thing with what if, because we know Hogan was out of it. Nash and Hall were kind of out of it. Those deals would have stayed with AOL because they wanted to get paid, and that makes a lot of sense. That probably would have been great for the WCW new, because that would have forced Bischoff and company to say, hey, let's go ahead and Booker T's the champion. Let's push these new guys. Let's push them. Let's get them up. And we know eventually, if Hogan and these guys don't go to WWF or WWE, they're eventually come back here. That's going to mean a lot more, because then they're gone years later. They come back and whatever. I'll say on new deals. It's like it could have worked, and it probably would have made a lot more sense. That's where it's like, why didn't it? Because I wrote down the number. When I heard the number that Eric Bischoff, because Bischoff went to Brad Siegel a few months before, and had asked him when they realized WCW, the numbers were horrible. I mean, they talked about one uncensored. I remember that uncensored, which was Hogan versus Flair in a cage. Hogan was wearing his NWO trunks. I think it was for the president of the company. I remember that one. I remember my dad bought it. We were watching it. Of course, Flair and Hogan too. I was like, oh God, and then the same main event a year later, it was 99 to 2000. They had, I don't know, 700. I don't know how many thousands of people or somebody bought the ticket or bought the pay-per-view. And it was down to like 50,000 people bought it. I mean, that told you where WCW was. It was dead. It was dying. It was, it was just, there was no help. Of course, that's Bischoff wasn't there at that time. I think maybe he was coming back at that point before he eventually left the Bash at the Beach. But anyway, Eric went to Brad Siegel, who was running WCW for Time Warner, said, would you be interested if we looked for a seller to buy the company? Because obviously Eric at that time knew they weren't going to do anything with these guys running the show, with these guys basically being the owners of the company. Yep. They didn't have Ted Turner anymore. It seems like ever since Ted Turner lost power, WCW started to die a whole lot more at that point. So then Brad Siegel told him, I don't have that written down, but it's paraphrasing. Basically, we don't sell, we buy. We're not selling anything. Then a few months later go by, and he calls Eric and he says, hey, remember what we talked about? Is that something you could do? And then Stu Snyder gave Bischoff the okay to go ahead and find a buyer. His wife was Eric Bischoff's wife, which was really cool to get her point of view, because she was obviously looking at everything. And she's like, he was dedicated. He had found a new life, basically. He wanted to find a buyer. He was to be the president of the company. He got, I forgot who it was, but he went to someone else. They said, hey, man, we're not interested, but I can find you someone who will. They got two guys. Those guys, they went on a conference call. You heard they seemed they were committed to do it. They ended up owning ESPN Classic Sports, whatever channel they owned. $65 million.
Yep.
Okay. First off, WCW can be worth a lot more. Nowadays, we get it. But back then, especially where WCW was, that's crazy. $65 million with an agreement to air both two shows from Vegas. You talked about it they had a deal on top of the parking garage to air a show, which would have been the old school WCW from all of America.
Yep.
Have a show from Vegas 2 days a week on TNT and TBS. 2 shows. They loved it. They were like, hey, let's do this. We're going to do it. $68 million. You could have this 2-stop spot, which is great because that's what matters. Why would you buy WCW if you're not going to have television? You need to have the television. Now, what's this guy? The new Time Warner CEO, AOL Time Warner merger. They talked about that, and we've heard that in the past. I'm sure you have. I have. Is that about how that really helped seal the deal for WCW? Was this guy Jamie Kellner? He hated professional wrestling. He wanted nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Wanted nothing to do with it. He ended up calling Brad Siegel and say, hey, look, just get the hell off my TV. That's what Brad Siegel says. We didn't hear from Kellner. Okay. But and then of course it was like literally a week before, I think before Eric was going to announce that, hey, we bought the WCW. We're going to start fresh. The Big Bang pay-per-view, which is WCW from Las Vegas. His partner calls him, says, hey, man, it's done. He goes, oh, congratulations. No, you don't get it. Deal's dead. Because they didn't want to do the TV. They didn't want to give him TV, so they killed the deal. I mean, and then you find out, which was this another Time Warner employee. He left Time Warner, went to WWE, called Brad Siegel. He said, hey, if you guys ever look into, of course they talk, blah, blah, blah. He says that, oh, Brad, vented to me, basically. He said, hey, if you ever think about selling this, let me in. Let me know. Then you find out about the conspiracy theories. And I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I'm not, but, you hear Eric Bischoff, you hear these other guys, what they're saying, you kind of go, okay. And Eric was the first one to kind of name. He said, was something fishy going on? I have to think so, because $65 million, I think it was $6 million, Vince McMahon bought WCW. He bought the company. He bought the contracts, minus the big ones and Hogan and so forth, because they were AOL. Bought the contracts, and he bought the library, which of course became the WWE Network. For that, I think it was $6 million. It may have been less.
It was 4.
4.3 million. I'm sorry, 4.3. Sorry, think about that. 2 TV shows. You would have got 65 million and would have had to dedicate 2 hours of TV time to WCW. A company you're not losing money anymore because it's not you. You're just giving it. It's basically what AEW is right now, which is kind of funny because I'm sure Jamie Keller has nothing to do with it with TNT and TBS anymore. But you could have had that plus 60. No, but you rather sell it for 4.3 million, have nothing to do with it. And you didn't even go to Eric, go, hey, we have someone else calling. They're going to offer 4.3. I'm sure Eric could have came around. You know what? Let me get 5 million. I'm sure Eric could have found 5 million. And then Eric could have gone somewhere else and gotten some TV time somewhere else. So let me ask you this. You heard that. Of course I knew about the less, there was a bigger amount and then they sold it for lesser amount. I've kind of heard the details a little bit on this conspiracy theory. I heard more about it today, hearing it from Brad Siegel's point of view, who, again, did not come off good at all. Just my opinion. What were your thoughts? Do you put any juice in this theory? Because I do. I start to feel like, yo, man, they kind of screwed it. They kind of screwed Eric Bischoff on this thing.
So if you don't want something on your network, if you don't want OUS fantasy on your network on Wednesday nights, let's say Wednesday nights are a good prime time spot on your network, and you don't want it there, but yet this deal that is going to happen with this Vegas deal, and I forgot the investment group or the other owner with Eric Bischoff, and like, hey, but we're going to lock in Monday nights and Thursday nights for these dedicated hours. And you're like, wait a minute, that's my prime time television. I only have 7 nights a week, right? And it's Monday. It's a big night. I'd rather have the NBA. I'd rather have whatever. I'd rather have whatever on there besides wrestling. That's how I feel as an executive. And if I can get it away now, like gone, away from my plate, never have to see it again, let's do it. Let's knock it out. Why is that so hard to believe? I understand $64 million is a lot more. And then, but you're still giving up. You're still giving something else. You're not just going $64 million out of my hair. It's $64 million. And now you're dealing with this nonsense that's caused you problems for however long, or you think caused you problems, or this network problems because they weren't making money. They were losing, right? Censorship problems. They were not ad friendly. They said that on the show too. So you'd really want that on your network? No, just get it out of my hair, be gone. That's not hard to believe in my eyes. It's really not, because they didn't value it as anything. They valued it less than that. They probably thought that was a lesser value. My thing was, the dude said, if there was a $64 million deal, if there was a real one, it would have been sold to them. Right? Didn't we hear that from the guy who left in with the WWF? He did say if there was a $64 million deal, they would have taken it. So he's claiming there was never one. That's what I was. Did we know?
Well, Eric says, I mean, and I forgot who else was there, but obviously you heard from the investors.
Yeah.
They obviously had that on the table. Obviously, they didn't go to him and say, okay, here's the 64 million, because they were still negotiating TV time. It's just not, with the WWF deal, because he could say that. But here's the thing, it's the same thing. I'm watching this new show on Netflix. I actually just finished 2 seasons. That's what I do. So now I got to wait till the 3rd season, but it's King of Collectibles on Netflix, which is, Ric Flair was on there. They were selling his robe. So they go, like, if you like that Tampa Bay Lightning thing back there, you say you bought it for $5, but back there's a jersey patch, and now it's worth $10,000. You give it to them, and they go to auction and they try to get over that. So I've been interested in that show, and it's the same type of deal. They have to go like, hey man, trust us. We're gonna go get you that 10 grand right now. We'll go over that. We could probably get 15 for you. You're like, damn, 15's bigger than 10. It's like, of course, there's no guarantee you get that 15, but if somebody else comes out and gives you cash out, like, hey man, I'll give you 8 grand for it. You might jump at that 8 grand because, hey, you get that right now rather than hoping you get 10 to 15. Kind of what that is. Now, of course, with the 65 million, they're not going to go, okay, here's 65 million. Now let's negotiate TV. No, it's a bigger deal than that. Where WWE is like, okay, we're going to be 4.3. We don't have to, we have our own TV. We just want the video library. We want the trademarks. We want this. It's ours. Okay, cool. Thanks. To me, that's why it made sense. 65 million is really nice, but then you got to give 2, like you just said.
Yeah.
That's a negotiating piece. It's the 2 hours. Now, if you don't want to give a Monday and Thursday and you hate wrestling so much, why not go back to the table and go, hey man, all right, you said 65 million, you want 2 hours of TV a week, or 4 hours, 2 hours each Monday and Thursday. Can't give you Monday and Thursday. That's prime time. I'm going to give it to it's basketball season. I'm going to go put some regular show on. Honestly, I don't like you. I don't like wrestling. I'll give you midnight. Whatever, or I'll give you Wednesdays, something. Money talks. There's no way that 65 million, no matter what the TV time, you could have said, sorry, we'll give you 1 day a week for an hour. At least now you have TV time and the 65 million. They could walk away after that and say, okay, no, but now you're still having TV time. But they didn't do that. It was like, no, we're just gonna go with the 4.3, just drop wrestling all together. We'll get the lesser amount. We don't have to worry about it. We won't have the TV time. That's what's kind of fit. It's like, to me, it's Brad Siegel and this guy saying, and of course, the conspiracy there too is that Brad Siegel kind of went and said he's kind of the one who went to Jamie Kellner and said, hey man, we could just get rid of it right here. Let's just kill it. And he kept saying how much he hated. And at the end, they came around and said, okay, who do you think killed WCW? Brad Siegel again puts it on the wrestlers. He put it on the wrestlers. They were all for themselves. They weren't willing to do this. They went like, basically, I don't have it in front of me. He basically, that's what he said. That's kind of like, yeah, you don't come off looking good at all. And I didn't hear any clear answer. You were both, it was like listen to a politician. You didn't really give a real clear answer. So I don't know, dude. I just think 4.3 million, that's nothing. I just to sell it straight up instead of saying, hey, Eric, that's what makes it even bigger, because you could have gone to Eric Bischoff, who you had a relationship with or whatever, and said, hey man, I know you're trying to work this out. We're not going to do the 65 because we don't want to give you the 2. We're not going to do the two prime spots on TV. We just can't do it. That's going to kill the deal. Okay, that sucks. We killed that deal. But look, I'm going to be honest with you. WWE just called us. They're going to give us 4.3. Can you find something for that? I'm sure Eric Bischoff would have said, let me call you back. Bam, bam, bam. Done. He has 5 million. Now you probably would have got a bidding war because Vince probably would have came out and said, "Oh, I'm going to go fucking 6." But at least you gave him that. You didn't even do that. They went right out and sold it to Vince McMahon. And then, of course, you had the final night of Nitro WCW. None of the guys knew anything about what was going on. They were all nervous. That, you know, when it comes to who killed WCW, that story alone,
Yeah,
sealed the deal. It sealed the deal. So I like your point, though. I think it's fair. You know, it's like, okay, well, was money there? But again, it's like it was still negotiating. Here was a straight up offer. I'm going to give you 4.3. Forget the TV. I can't give you 65 million because I'm not asking for TV. Because if I'm giving you 65 million, I'm also paying not just for my product, but I'm paying for the put me on the time on your air, on your tel, like you said, FTSN, OUS, right? If that was the deal, which is not, by the way, and I love OUS. But anyway, what I'm saying is, it's like if we had a contract, or I'm like, hey man, I got to put another show there, but you know, you're like, hey dude, okay, how about I do this? You know, I give you this amount, and then you leave me on Wednesday nights. Okay, dude, how about you give me that amount, but I put you on this night at the same time because that's prime time. I got to put my Dolphin show on there, you know. But instead, I go out and say, okay, so and so, I'm going to put, you know, obviously you're beer and sports as well, but I'm going to put beer and sports on that time. I didn't even give you a chance to match it or even fight for it.
Yep.
It's screwy. It was damn screwy.
It was. Of course it was. It's pro wrestling. It's always screwy.
Idiots. Those guys are dumbasses, dude.
Yeah.
It pissed me off, dude. I was like, all right, man. I was like, I mean, it is what it is. It's been dead a long time, but it's kind of like, again, you go back to that what if.
Yeah.
What would have happened?
There was one positive that came out of this show. This specific show. The last episode 4 was Booker T's enthusiasm, his excitement for the new change, because he felt like he was held back. Like, this wasn't negative for everybody. It was negative for it was negative for the guys who've been eating good for a long time. It was positive for the younger guys like a Booker T, who wants to, like he said, it was a tryout. His match with Scott Steiner for the WCW World Championship, they felt like it was a tryout for the new regime.
They said treat it like a tryout. Treat it like a tryout. Yeah.
And he went out there and hustled, and he was super happy for the the opportunity and then the new start, because there was a lot of guys there that wanted a new start for a very long time. The older guys, they were the ones worried. The Scott Halls and the Kevin Nash and all those guys. I'm sure they weren't worried. I'm sure they were arrogant and cocky enough to know they could stay home and get paid. But I'm just seriously, and that's what they did. And that's what they did, because they're selfish. But I really, truly, I know I have my own opinion on them.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah. I have my own opinion on those guys.
I know.
But guys like Booker T, who thought of it as a positive situation. Every time you have change at work, think about your job. I just changed management. My manager changed and my supervisor changed all at one time. I hated it. I thought this was going to be the worst, because now it's new. It's new change. Now, it's not like my company got sold, but I'm going into a totally different situation that I had last month. That's what these guys had. You can go in as me, who goes, this is going to suck. Or you could look at as Booker T and go, wow, I have a new chance to start fresh. And I don't think a lot of those guys thought like that. I really, looking at the behind the scenes, and everyone's in shock. Everyone took this as a negative, and nobody besides the Booker T's of the world thought, man, this is a good thing. I can finally get over.
Well, I mean, again, okay, so that's fair. Because, well, first off, Booker T, even though at that moment in time, though, he was world champion, he was, and obviously he wasn't an AOL guy. He didn't have that deal. He had a lesser known deal. So it was easy for WWE to come in, or WWF, to say, hey, we're going to make you the champion. You're going to be U.S. champion, world champion. We're bringing him. Scott Steiner wasn't coming. Steiner, I think, had an AOL deal. So he wasn't coming. So they made the change. But there were guys that you could have said probably were below Booker T that were just as nervous. I mean, you had Bill DeMott. You had Dustin Rhodes, who had a career in the WWF as Goldust. Rey Mysterio backstage, who ended up obviously becoming Booker T. Obviously became a Hall of Famer. He was great back then. I loved Booker T. Harlem Heat, and then solo Booker T. His brother Stevie Ray was in NWO, and then you had Booker T, the solo U.S. champion. Loved Booker T. So he was always great. Same thing as Eddie and Ray, but they became legends in WWF and the WWE. Rey Mysterio, Bret Hart said he's one of the greatest of all time, and I think anybody could agree that Ray is definitely one of the greatest of all time. But Ray back there, you could see Conan was talking about it, and Conan was great during this series. I enjoy listening to Conan. A great show with Disco Inferno and all that. But Conan really was true to too, where he's kind of like, you could see what, and I forgot what lady was saying it. I don't know if it was she was an attorney person.
Blaze. Oh,
Was
the
Alundra,
executive.
was it Blaze? Alundra, whoever said was like, oh, when they went out in the ring, they were all ready to go, and then when they went back, maybe it was Charmel, Booker T's wife. When they came back into the backstage, you'd see them there slumped again. You see Rey Mysterio kind of, because again, it's the unknown. It's like, we know, okay, Booker's getting in there. We know Booker's gonna, now again, they still kind of F Booker a little bit when he came in there. Who are you? They made him a goofy ass character. Booker T was a legitimate badass in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Booker T was always like, when he hit. You knew it hurt. He was left foot. When he went to WCW, he was kind of goofy with Steve Austin, with the milk and shit and the stuff. And you go with like DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, one of the biggest stars in WCW, a legit badass, cool dude. You get behind, sell high five. You love this music. You did the Diamond Cutter. Everybody was. He goes to WWF. All of a sudden, he's a goofy guy. He's a stalker, and then he's a go happy guy. It's me. It's DDP with Christian and whatever. That's what it's like. Damn. Now, of course, great thing about Ray. Ray didn't have that. Ray came in a couple of years later. I think it was a blessing in disguise for a lot of those guys. Now, of course, Booker T took the ball and ran with it. He never complained. Of course, he probably said, "Man, I went through WCW. I busted my ass. I won the world title. Now I'm in the big games here. I'm already been a world champion. I've been in top programs with The Rock, with Austin. Even though I was probably treated as, I could have been a more badass person rather than heel. But he killed it. And of course, we got King Booker after that. So there's blessings. And at the same time, it's kind of like, you have guys like a Ray and a Conan and whatever. Conan never went to WWE after. Buff Bagwell went to WWE. Those guys, they weren't on Time Warner. They were, separate entities. So they were able to go. And of course, Buff Bagwell was in and out like within a week of that program of going in there. So you're right with Booker T, but there were guys that it was like, damn, I could feel it. And that sucks. And again, I throw that the freaking feed of AOL and Time Warner. And again, you kind of like, yeah, there were guys who kind of went up, but how many guys actually did? We know Ray did. Ray took the ball and ran with it. Chris Jericho did.
Jericho left. Jericho already left.
Jericho left before, I know that, but I'm saying when he left WCW, and that's the other thing too. Jericho was big in WCW. He had great stories. He had great matches. I mean, whatever. Yep. Same thing with Eddie Guerrero and Benoit. Benoit was a champion. I'm watching those early episodes of Nitro, and they push Eddie. It wasn't until, of course, they went to WWE where they finally got that spotlight. And of course, by that time, WWE started going smaller. WCW went bigger. WCW was like bigger guys. Those are your champions. Where WWE started going smaller at that point. So, yeah, you're right though. That's the positive. That was the positive. Fresh start for those guys. Negative being though, what it did for the rest of professional wrestling. Because again, Conan never went to WWE. There's a lot of guys that were Alex White. I'm probably butchering his last name. I'm having trouble with the R's. That's right. Remember him? Those guys who was a great wrestler. I enjoyed watching him growing up. But there are a lot of those guys that never went to WWE. And then there was no real TNA at that point. There was no, there was Ring of Honor. I don't know. No, I don't think Ring of Honor was there. I think NWA maybe was a dying breed. There was still little, little shows here. There was Japan, but there was none of that. It was not a monopoly or whatever. There was no chance. McMahon ran it. That killed wrestling for wrestlers at that point. So yeah, Booker T got an opportunity, but it was those other guys that didn't. There's other guys that never got that chance, and they never did ever again. And whoever did jump from who was not in the Booker T level, Sean Stasiak and Sean O'Hare, Sean O'Hare, he had the look, he had the body, he had the look, whatever, but he just died. DDP. That's why Sting never went to WWE. He saw what they did to Booker T and DDP, and he was like, why am I going there? Of course, then he went to TNA, and he revived his career and probably became more than what he ever was. What he was at WCW, which of course he was a legend at that point, but he became a legend at TNA, which is kind of crazy. He put TNA on the map with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. So yes, there was a blessing, but also, it really effed up the business.
Yep. Yeah, you're 100% right. That's why I'm thankful AEW's around, even though they're awful.
No, it's true though. No, it's TNA, AEW. of course you could judge a show. You're like, damn, dude, it's like, what? But again, it's like, thank God they are there, because guess what? If you want to change WWF one day, maybe or WWE, you don't like what they're doing, even though they're killing it, you switch up to AEW.
Yep.
Or they don't get, your guy there, Ricochet is not getting what you think is his proper TV time. He goes to AEW TNA and kills it. He finally gets those matches, or gets that story, or gets that belt.
Hey,
now
Cody did it.
Cody did it. He played himself. He betted on himself. He left WWE in a comfortable spot, even though it was a goofy ass role in Stardust. He said, I'm going to bet on myself. He left, basically rebranded himself, and he came back bigger and better than ever. That's what WCW did for these other guys who left WWF, went to WCW. They did. That's what AEW, TNA, and now of course these other little brands here and there. That's what they're doing. So, and that's what WCW could have still been if they were able to get that deal done. Because I think if WCW would have survived, if Eric would have figured it out, Eric Bischoff, I think probably would have been big. Probably, I don't know. I don't want to say it would have been around today. We don't know. But TNA's still around, and TNA basically was. I always thought it was like a reincarnation of like WCW. To me, that's what it was.
Here, can I say this without sounding like a jerk?
It's okay.
TNA had Hogan. TNA had those players.
Later.
But they weren't there to set poison in the well from day one like Hogan did in WCW. Like TNA, you know what I mean? Like they had Jeff Jarrett, who's a stand-up guy. They had all these guys in there that AJ Styles. They had Jim Cornette there. They had guys that actually loved the business and wanted to thrive. In WCW, I feel like they relied too much on Hogan and these other big Macho and Luger.
Well,
and much power.
I mean, that's true, right? I mean, you're not wrong.
Well.
Love or hate them, but it's true. You know, again, we talked about this probably I think it was the first episode of this, was the fact of, if you're just starting a wrestling company, or let's say you're giving a dying company, let's say AEW is in the crap, and somehow, some way, Josh, you got your foot in the door and you're basically now Eric Bischoff, you've taken over AEW, and you're like, okay, I have a good roster, but I need a legitimate dude, the friggin' like that's going to bring the audience. Roman Reigns is a free agent. He left the WWE. He's available. Let's say John Moxley says, hey, like Ric Flair for Hulk Hogan, say, hey, I have Roman on the phone, or, Joe on the phone, and he's interested in talking to you. And you because this is the guy you said that you would do this for. There's one guy you would do this for. And he comes in, he goes, hey man, I'm going to do this. I'll say, I'm worth this much. I'll say you are, but I want creative control. I don't want you to F up my character. We talked about this first show. That was the guy that you said, yeah, you know what? I think you're going to bring enough attention to my guys. And it wasn't just Hogan didn't just bring himself in. Ric Flair brought Hogan, but after that, of course, Hogan brought Macho. He brought the, Nash and Hall came after. Nash brought Hall, or Hall brought Nash, and then, of course, we saw what happened. It lifted WCW for 83 straight weeks. Yeah. And it was, even after 83 weeks died out and they lost, they were still huge until it started dying down. So it did poison the well, because, again, you gave Hogan all this power, and then you gave Nash and Hall all this power, because every time you had to pay another guy all this money, their contracts went up. Yep. They were like, when Bret Hart got all that money, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall got all that money. It just happened. So, again, yes, we could look back and go, oh, man, you see, Hulk Hogan. Well, Hogan was a big star. He could command that. He probably couldn't command it from Vince, because him and Vince were on the same level. He can't go to Vince at first, but Vince knew who he was, because Vince said it years later, even after Hogan was gone, because of this guy. This guy tried to pay off, not try to hold McMahon hostage. Oh, I want to be paid like Hulk Hogan. Hogan wasn't there anymore. And McMahon wrote a letter, you're not Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan. So he had the right to command that amount of money and to command that thing. And of course, no one's wrong. You're not wrong. The wrestling world's not wrong with it. Yeah, eventually it became a point where it's like, God dang, like this was not a smart move. And I think Eric Bischoff probably would say that. I'm sure he's spoken about it. I haven't heard it. But I probably would say, it was like, man, if I could probably take that back, I probably would. Because then it would give me a little more free leeway. You still got to respect his say. He's the biggest star in wrestling. But again, clause really kind of said what it did. It kill WCW? No, it did not kill WCW. No, like you could hate on that, and you could hate on Hogan for being the biggest star in wrestling and demanding what he deserved. Should Ric Flair have been treated that way? 100%. Ric Flair was Ric Flair. Now, yeah, he's not that, compared to Hogan in regards of mega, but Ric Flair was a lot of people's GOAT, in which he is. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. But he didn't get that. Hogan could demand that. Flair couldn't. He couldn't go to WWF and go, you want me on TV? Then you got to give me a no, you can't mess with my character.
Yeah.
No, dude, get out. Hogan could command it because that's who he was. But that did not kill WCW.
Oh, the executives did. We know that.
Yeah.
So is there, I want to ask you a question. I want to turn the page. I don't want to interrupt your rundown, but I want to know, after watching all 4 episodes, I want to know these questions. First, let's start with this one. Who came off looking the best? Who came off looking as, wow, that guy really cared about WCW. I actually believe every word he said. Or she. Could be Charmel or Blaze or any other woman that was speaking on the show. Who came off the best to you? Because I have my answer, but I don't know if you've thought about that already. It's tough.
It is tough. The best. Who came off the best?
This was 4 episodes.
Yeah, well, I would say, because there's a few that didn't come off bad. It was, you think of that I'm forgetting her name right now, but she was a Time Warner person. She seemed like she really gave a damn. There was another Time Warner executive, an older guy. Again, I don't know their names by heart. It was an older guy, kind of heavier set. I liked him. He seemed like he gave a damn. He kind of cried at the end.
Yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
He came off really good. I was like, damn, dude. There were some guys that came off, but this is gonna sound. I mean, it might be a cliche thing. I think Eric Bischoff came off pretty damn good.
Eric came off as the hero of the show.
Yeah,
Eric came off as, if there was a villain, if there was a heel and babyface, Eric Bischoff came off as the hero, the one that always tried to make it work. And yes, he has his flaws, just like every hero does.
Yeah, nobody's perfect.
Just like every person has. But at the end of the day, Eric really cared about making this a success. And I think he came off looking the best. Like, if you didn't know anything about Eric Bischoff, if you only knew his book, Cash Creates, or Controversy Creates Cash, and his arrogant, promos on WCW, if you didn't know anything about him and you went into this and go, wow, Eric's not the jerk I thought he was. Eric's actually logical. Eric actually cares about the business. You hear so many people say, he doesn't know anything about wrestling. He doesn't know anything about the business. He still doesn't know anything. I was just listening to, I think it was either Jim Cornette or someone else talking about the documentary, going, Bischoff sounds dumber and dumber every episode because he doesn't know anything about the business. And I looked at it, I go, no, wait, Eric knows about business, about selling, about what people want. He did a damn good job. And if it wasn't for the executives, I think WCW would have put WWF out of business. But the executives said, no, that's not going to happen. For some reason, they said, no, we don't want this to be successful. And Eric did everything in his power to try. And you watched him through this documentary age over time. He went from this young stud looking guy to a man who was just burnt out.
It looks like a president. You ever seen those things of like a president, they go into office and they look young and whatever, and all of a sudden they come in, they got gray hair, and that's what he looked. He aged in like you think 83 weeks. Yeah, 83 weeks or 96 weeks, whatever it was. He went from like, young and black jacket, all cool, to white hair and a suit. He's, like, God dang, dude, you need to get out. But no, I'm glad you agree with me on that. I didn't have a bad opinion really on Eric Bischoff. Again, like you said, did he make mistakes? Absolutely he did. But you have to do, and Kevin Nash said it best. I think, was it, bro, first off, The Rock said, it was The Rock, Dwayne Johnson said Eric Bischoff definitely is on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling executives, which he absolutely freaking is, 100%, because he's the only one, and Kevin Nash said this, which got Eric emotional. Again, Eric getting flowers at the end. He said, Eric Bischoff's the only one who beat Vince McMahon at professional wrestling for 83 straight weeks. That he did this. He gave his blood. And it's so true. And it's like, you go, damn, dude. And it's true. You never know what you have. Again, for someone who doesn't know, who just listened to all the noise, he listened to and not hating on Cornette or none, but to hear those guys and, and they go, oh yeah, Eric's a dick, man. Eric's, blah, 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 blah. Oh, he ruined wrestling. He killed WCW. If you watch something like this and you listen to the guys that actually were there and you listen to this story, you're like, no, dude, he did everything he could First off, to have it fight WWE, which he did, and he won for 83 weeks. And it made it a major company, and they were making money, but also they were losing money because of not just because of themselves and signing these deals, but also because Time Warner was some of the lost money somewhere else in the company. They were putting it on WCW because they could. So WCW looked like it lost more money than it really did. He was battling, not just trying to beat McMahon, but he was fighting other guys behind his back, stabbing him. It's like, God dang, dude.
Yep.
And it's like, like you said right there, you said it. I'm going to leave it right there with that. If he would have had Time Warner and those guys behind his back that supported him and say, hey, man, we're going to give you these 2 hours or whatever, even before it actually fell apart, what can we do to help you? We have your back. We want to support you, blah, 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 freaking blah. And he did that. And he whether the same group or he kept evolving, I think you're right. I think eventually they still would have been here. Maybe been retired by now. Who knows? Still would have been here. And or he could eventually been the one over WWE. WWE would have probably been an afterthought, and then WCW would have been the thing. But they didn't. He had these guys behind his back. So yeah, Eric came off stronger.
Yep.
Or looked good.
On the flip side, who came out looking worse? You already brought up Siegel. But who else came out really man, I grinded my gears. There's one person in particular that I could not stand, even when he said something positive. There's one man, and his name is Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Every time that guy opened his mouth, you know why? He really irritated me because he thinks in his mind that everything he did, from the tase to Goldberg to the finger poke of doom, he thinks is awesome. He thinks those worked. He still in his mind thinks that everything he did was gold. And he had nothing to do with anything that ever happened bad there. He has never taken any credibility. This entire documentary, I watched him praise himself and talk about the things he did, which was awesome, bro. But he won't accept he doesn't take any accountability. And I could not stand that. Everyone on that show took some accountability. I think everyone did. At some point, Siegel looked bad. I get it. But he took accountability in some parts. Kevin Nash stuck his ground and doubled down multiple times. What's worse, the finger poke of doom or the blood missing me? He doubled down when he could, and he made himself look worse and worse. I don't listen to his podcast. Matter of fact, I did listen to it. I saw a YouTube short and he was talking about the WCW thing, and he sounded dumb there too. He still to this day will not accept anything. Everything he did was awesome. I just want to let you know that, Bobby. And he knows it, and he'll tell you that. That's wrong. He came off so arrogant.
I think he admitted it, or he said it on his thing. I don't listen to it. So I've listened to clips. I do listen to clips of the show sometimes, but again, I'm not hating on Kevin Nash. And no, you're just speaking your truth, so I don't think you're hating either. But I think you're saying is true, But it's like there's a lot of times I turn it off. I don't listen. I can listen to Eric Bischoff for a while. I could listen to Jim Ross. I could listen. There's a few guys that I could sit. Conan. I could listen to Bubba Ray Dudley. I could hit him busting rope and radio. Kevin Nash. I don't know because he's gone through a lot in a short amount of time over the years. Obviously his son and Scott Hall and whatever. He admitted that on the show he was high. But no, I agree. I understand that. I can't fault you for saying Kevin Nash. I think that's great that you went there because it's so easy to go the route you already know where I'm going. But because again, it's not like, dude, come on, I can understand. I think we discussed this. I can understand the idea if it was like totally the argument for it didn't make any sense. But like you say, the finger poke of doom, it shocked the world. Yeah, that was like, whoa, what the hell? Because Hogan and Nash had been off and whatever. We could debate that. Was it stupid? Eventually it's like, yeah, the reasoning was stupid. Oh, keep the title in the family. You were both NWO. Mm-hmm. You could have done something different. That didn't make any sense to me. The taser was dumb. That was dumb. Come on, Kevin. Yeah, you were one of the hottest stars in WCW. Absolutely. And the NWO Wolfpack, as much as some people I'm surprised they do, but they hate on that. it was one of the coolest factions.
Mhm.
After the NWO, the original OG NWO with Hogan, Nash, and Hall, and a few of the guys with the Macho, that was cool. But the NWO Wolfpack with Nash and Hall, Nash and Savage and Sting, Red Paint, Luger, Conan, that was like, you were like, those are the cool guys. Like, I want to chill with them. Yep. You were the hottest star in wrestling. I get it. One of the hottest stars in WCW for sure. So beating Goldberg would have made sense if you would have done it, as you said, a clean sweep, powerbomb, 1, 2, 3, over, shock the world, and you make a run with the title. And if you want to drop it to Hogan and shock the world, do something like that late, not the next night. It make no sense. Why beat Goldberg? Yes. You can't defend that. I'm sorry. There's no way you could sit there and say, well, it worked. No, it didn't. It didn't, because guess what? The younger generation of fans who were watching even said, wait, what? Did I pop when Kevin Nash beat Goldberg? And then mean, whoa, yeah, I did. I remember watching that. I remember when Scott Hall came out, and I went, what the heck? I was a little kid. Now the finger poke of doom, like I said, where I stand. You know what it was. There's no secret who I was. A Hogan fan. I was an NWO fan. Hogan had the match. I was like, what? And when I saw it, I went, whoa. Then I saw the win. I was like, oh God, they're together. As years later, you're gonna go like, come on, dude, that doesn't make any sense. It didn't help either. You could have had a monster run, and if you wanted to do something with Hogan, you could have done that like a month later or two. Like, oh, Hogan, I'm getting like, oh crap, wait, what did you just do? But you didn't do that. But I guess that's hearsay, right? So I can't argue with you. I can't, I think that's actually fair, and I think it's pretty cool that you went that route. I would say, I don't know, Russo. I would say, again, my answer is Brad Siegel and Turner execs, but Brad Siegel, I would say, did not come off good at all. And I tried. I really did try to not feel that way, because I was like, again, it's you, but like Ted Turner loved it. These other guys hated it. Who cares about these other guys? He's the owner. You've seen the money it's making. Work with it. But to me, he gave a lot of non-answers. And again, the last episode did him no favors. And then what he said about the wrestlers twice, they're liars. And then some of the first episode, and then in the final episode, he was talking about, the wrestlers basically killed WCW, which is such a freaking cop-out. They're the contractors. They're not killing WCW. Yep. Even the Hogans and the Nashes and the Halls, you're still running. Those are major names. You could still make something out of, again, and they kind of did for a while. When Nash, Hogan, Hall, when Hogan mainly was on top, he was the main attraction, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, you paid him all that money. He does it. You still were having monster shows even around, because you may have a 10-minute main event that still everybody wanted to watch. But then you had the 30-minute Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio matches. You were still putting on great shows around these other guys. So even if those guys felt like, oh, they're holding back, you never saw that. You saw great shows. So that's bullcrap. Those guys didn't do it. Those guys did their jobs. You guys agreed to pay them that way. That's the way it is. You can't fault them. That's on you. Sorry, it is what it is. But you did it. Now, if I had to give a different answer, because you were like, oh, I know you said, which is Brad Siegel, Russo did not come off good. And again, I tried to not, because again, like we said it before his episode, he was coming on basically a ship that was sinking already. It was kind of like it was gaining water. It started to come down over the head. But the stuff he was saying, I mean, I'm more, better than 80% of the wrestlers. That's why I should be on TV. It's like, dude, then you should never have said nothing. You should have no right to say anything about Hogan or anybody else, because that's first. And you're not Hulk Hogan. You're not Ric Flair. You're none of those guys when it comes to characters, because I would rather watch Hulk Hogan every day and Ric Flair and those guys, the oldies, than you any day of the week on TV in a New York Giants uniform and a helmet. That's goofy as hell. I'd rather see Hulk Hogan versus Goldberg 30 times than watch that. So it's like, go ahead. You want to respond?
No, I was going to say no 12-year-old kid had a poster of Vince Russo on their wall.
No one. So it's like, again, I wanted to go in there, not wanted to come out and go, oh, because again, Bash at the Beach, kind of like, damn, dude, like that's kind of you don't know how much of a work. It's the same thing as a screw job. How much of it was a work and how much was not. Now we know how much of it was kind of a work, and we don't know what the rest was, because we know who's lying, who's whatever. But it's like, when you say that, and then you agree, after everyone agreed how the match was finished, and then you put David Arquette as the champion, then you made yourself the world champion. Now we know you had nothing to do, really, maybe a little bit of the Attitude Era, but you really weren't no brainchild because you didn't do a damn thing. You had some great characters on that show. Even when Hogan in and out, you still had some primetime players on WCW on that roster, and you didn't really do a damn thing.
Fumbled.
So, and everything he said, most of it was kind of like, and of course he comes out after the episode because he did not come off looking good, and he goes, "Oh, this is why I don't like talking about, I hate wrestling," and and he's still talking wrestling. He's still doing his podcast. He's still, proclaiming, "Oh, if you think I said I was better than any people because I'm as a wrestler, then you're not better." No, we know exactly what you were saying, and you're still coming off like a jackass. I respect you. I mean, no disrespect, but I do respect you. You were part of the major companies. You did do some cool things. You did not kill Vince Russo did not kill WCW.
Mm-mm.
But as this whole, he's for the little guy, bullcrap. He was not for the little guy. Stop.
I want to believe that. I want to believe it. I'm not a Vince Russo fan, but I want to know that. I want to believe that he was for the little guy. That's all.
He was for whoever would be his friend.
He's Tony Khan.
Yeah, that's what he was. I mean, except he's doing. Thank God Tony Khan is not Vince Russo. Except he is doing himself.
Have you seen AEW television?
Sorry, I know there's a little things. I know I've seen it, but but again, I'm like, that's what he wants. He wants to be. That's why as soon as he went in, he wasn't going to go. Eric. He said, "Oh, I would have had a great relationship with Hulk Hogan if it wasn't for Eric Bischoff." So what does he do? He goes, "You know what? I'm not going to be friends with Flair and Hogan and Sav. They're all friends with each other." Hey, what was this guy? I'm just going to throw a random name out there because I can. It's a Glacier. Remember Glacier?
Glacier, yeah.
Glacier is like, "Hey, Glacier, man, how you doing?" I'm all right. He's doing his little boots. And, "Hey, man, you should be the champion, dude. Like, I don't like how these guys are holding you back, man." "Really?" "Yeah, man. Like, bull crap. Don't worry, I got you, bro." Billy Kidman, "Hey, bro, what's up, man? How you doing? I like your sweats, bro. Hey, look, man, you should be world champion." "Bullshit." "Oh, dude, I'm gonna hang out with him." "Yeah, it's my crew now. I got a crew. They should be world champion. Hogan's holding it back." "Oh, shut the hell up, dude. You're so full of crap. Want to be popular kid." That's how I felt. So I guess no, it's fucked up. I'll say Brad Siegel, but I taught myself in the room. Russo. I tried not to. No, it's Russo.
We can both agree on this. Brad Siegel is by far the biggest villain of that show. The dumb. He came off as a buffoon to me. Came off as a man. People that dumb are in that position, but they are, and that's how I felt with Siegel. But I like our alternative answers because we all listen. Siegel was the dumbest person and came off the worst, but I wanted to go the Kevin Nash route. I'm glad you went the Vince Russo route because man, that episode he did not do himself any favors.
I would say Siegel. Are you a Star Wars fan? I don't think you and I ever. We are. He came off a little bit like Darth Sidious, wanted to be a Chancellor Palpatine. Looked like the good guy, and he kept going, "Oh, well, the reason why this fall apart is I was not getting, Jamie Kellner and this other guy over here had nothing to do with me." But then, but you have a relationship with the guy who made the purchase. So wait a second, and then you're like, the whole thing with Russo and Bischoff. "Oh, I'm going to bring you back on to oversee Russo." And then Russo asks, "Hey, dude, this guy's over?" "No, you guys are partners." It's like, no, dude, you're playing the game. You suck at it, by the way.
If he would have said straight up, "This is what happened with Eric Bischoff. This is why I hired him to oversee Vince Russo," whatever the truth was, my opinion of him would have been 1000% different. It'd been like, okay, at least he can tell the truth. But the fact that he's still lying and still dodging questions to this day in 2024 is wild to me. It's wild.
Yeah, I agree with that. If he would have been a little more or come off truthful and say, "Hey, look, I told him this. I told him that. The reason why I told one guy this and I told the other guy that, because obviously both guys heard two different things and they continue to hear two different things. And he even said two different things watching the show." It's like, if he would have said, "The reason why I did that was because these guys were two massive egos. I was trying to get the best out of this situation. So I told Eric to get him back because I wanted him back. Say, hey, man, you're going to oversee this." But then Russo would have left, and we gave him a lot of money. So I had to tell him this. So yes, I did lie to him. Okay, you know what? I can get that. I understand now. We're cool. Yeah. But because you were trying to, again, like you have any kind of connections with Eric and this guy, and maybe you don't want to see them at some event or something, you still BSing. Let's just be real. You're BSing the whole situation. But yeah, no, great questions, man. Anything else?
That's it. So I think there was one more, but I'm not gonna lie, Bobby. Forgot.
That's okay. But yeah, what could have been the Big Bang WCW reboot was supposed to be the refresh, the new WCW led by Eric Bischoff as president. I think Booker T was the champion at that point.
Yep.
He was
the
right.
champion, yes.
So he would have been the champion. Hogan was gone. This would have been a separate, even though they would have still been on TNT and TBS, they still would have been on. They would not have been owned by Time Warner TNT, and that's who owned Hogan and those other guys' deals. So I think that's how it's playing out. So we would have had DDP, Booker T, Goldberg was Time Warner, I think, or AOL, Rey Mysterio. And we know, even though he had those main guys up there, Bischoff loved the Luchas and he pushed them a lot. I mean, again, it's like Sting would have still been involved. Flair would have been involved. What if?
Yep.
We should do that next show just for fun. Just like a what if? What would have been the card of WCW Big Bang?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's book the card. Yeah, we'll do that next week.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be our episode next week. I don't know if we do it together or we do our own separate and try to play it. I don't know, but we'll mess around with it. But man, no. Again, I think first off, current wrestling right now is amazing. It's a lot of fun, especially the WWE product. TNA is getting hot. Especially with the partnership with WWE. AEW. Is it Forbidden Doors next week?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Holy crap.
Yep.
What's the match you're most excited about? Uh-oh. Are you
How can I be excited about matches that were just made yesterday? How can I be excited for no feud, no story, no nothing? How can anyone be excited for this freaking show?
What's the card? I think I saw it yesterday. I mean,
Swerve
like
Strickland and
15 matches on there.
Will Ospreay and Swerve. That's the match.
That's the main event. That's the main event. I know that. All right, that's what I was gonna say. I say at least you can have that kind of story.
MJF.
I thought it was cool. I did see the clip where Ospreay stole the title or took the title from his hand, and then all of a sudden this guy came running, kicking back in the head. I laughed at that.
You could have we got MJF versus what he said, a masked man that looks like a poorly drawn superhero.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 matches. Damn.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the show.
Okay, so Soraya, which I know her as Paige, but Soraya versus Mariah May.
I had no idea that was a match.
Yeah, I see it right here.
They just wrestled.
You have House of Black. This is a 4-way tag team match. Trios match. So is that a tag match?
Trios matches, yeah. 6-man tag match, 3-on-3. They call it trios.
They have a trios tag title, right?
Yeah.
They have that. I think I've seen that before. So that one has Samoa Joe, Hook, Shibata, right? Shibata, excuse me. Jericho, Big Bill.
Yep, Big Cass.
Jeff Cobb. Yeah, Big Cass, yeah. Which I always thought he had the look. I mean, I'm glad he's doing better. Trios match, another trios match.
Yep.
The Acclaimed, Hiroshi,
Tanahashi.
Thank you. This is your bread and butter. Forgive me. But I'm just reading it as I go because I'm looking at the posters. The Elite, which again, I think
the Bucks.
Okada. I've not watched enough of him, but when I have, I absolutely freaking love him.
It's great.
I laugh every time. I'm so like I would watch him. If you said Bobby Okada's on TV, I would sit down and watch him. Because I'm sure I'd be so because I love he has a character. When he messed up the TV, when he pressed the button, he goes, "Oh no, I did," and he goes, "Bitch!" I'm like floored. He's great, man.
Yep.
Now is this the finale? Owen Hart tournament, Bryan Danielson versus
no.
Okay.
Just getting started.
Oh, so this is just a match on the paper.
Just a match.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then Daniel Bryan. See, but this is the problem. The winner
Who's
of
that?
This. Huh?
Bryan Danielson,
right? Did I say that?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Bryan.
I'm sorry. Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
Whatever. You knew who I was talking about. I'm sure the world did too. But anyway, he had an interview recently. I saw something on Twitter where he was like, "Oh, I don't need to be the world champion. I don't want the world champion. I don't want a main event." Blah blah blah. Why the hell would you say that when you're in this tournament? The winner of this goes to challenge the world champion.
Brian gets a pass from everyone because we know he's going to be retired this year, and he's getting all of his dream matches out of the way. This is a dream match for him. Shingo's a big deal over there.
So is he going to lose this match, you think?
I think he's going to win.
Okay.
I think he's going to go to the finals and lose to Adam Page.
Okay, Hangman Adam Page, he's come back. He's
not bad. There's a wild card, and the Bucks announced that they're going to bring back. They're going to announce who the wild card is.
Okay, so that would be good. That would be kind of cool. Is Kenny Omega coming back?
No,
not yet.
Not for a while. He's still unhealthy.
Okay. Then you got the TNT Championship ladder match. You have Jack Perry, some other guy, Mark Briscoe.
Oh, I wish he would win. Yep.
Yeah, man. Leo Rush is on there. Zack Sabre Jr.
Nope, he's not in the match. Yep, they're wrestling together.
Yeah, the separate match. They're in posters, so I see the separation. But yeah, anytime I see Orange Cassidy, I have no care for that.
Can I stop you? As you're reading this, and all as you people listening to this or watching this, what a train! Not you reading this, but what a train wreck of a card! Like what a train wreck of a freaking card! Like I am zero interest in watching any match. I want to see Swerve and Ospreay.
Are you buying this?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
You know why? Why would I buy something where the owner of the company put zero effort into building any story? You know, the biggest criticism of AEW I had on Real Talk Wrestling, which we streamed last night, was you opened Dynamite last night with babyface MJF. He's then interrupted by babyface Daniel Garcia, which you don't know who Danny Garcia is. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
I know. Yeah.
So babyface Daniel Garcia interrupts MJF. Then they go off to compliment each other and say how you're awesome. Thank you. I love you. Blah, 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 blah. And then MJF says, okay, I'm going to do this for you, Daniel Garcia, since you worked your way up and you've done all this. You're going to wrestle me at All In a main event match because I'm MJF. Then we get babyface Will Ospreay come out. Oh, bruv, I'm going to give you something better. You're going to get my Intercontinental title or International title match. And when I beat Swerve, you'll also get my World Heavyweight title match. One-upping MJF. And then right after that, we get Swerve, the fourth babyface in this god-darn feud, talking about Will Ospreay. We have four babyfaces going for the one World Heavyweight title. And then later in that show, we have heel Bullet Club Gold, Bang Bang Gang versus heel trios, Christian and his group. So we got heels versus heels for that title. We got babyface versus babyface for that title. What is happening? That's what I'm asking. I don't know what's happening, Bobby. I don't know. And that's why I don't want to buy the show. And that's why I don't want to care about watching AEW anymore, because nothing makes sense.
Wow.
It's like Vince Russo and Tony Khan got into a room together. Like, it's like Vince Russo is in that room going, Tony, let's cook. And Tony's like, yes, sir. I love the Attitude Era. Woo, you're my hero. Like, it's just so bad. Sorry, I don't want to go off. No more rants.
No, you're good. Hey, I know, first off, just for those who haven't heard from Josh, and you should have, but when AEW started, and for a while, you were a diehard AEW, and you're a fan of the secondary wrestling company. You know, you want to see it grow, you want to see it succeed, and you've been big on this. But you've admittedly said that it's just died out. It's just there's no story. And again, my thing is, if you wanted to do that, treat it like boxing. You know, treat it as that. Let's not pretend you're trying to compete with WWE. Make it a separate thing. Yeah, we're a wrestling company, and so we're going to put dream matches. Like, promote it as that. Oh, you know what? We got the number one contender. Let's throw a random name out there. God, I would hate that. Orange Cassidy. He's the number one contender. He's going to face the world title, the world champion on this. Then I guess you can expect that that's all it is. But when you just throw crap on the wall and it's like, oh, we're going to have this match. Yeah, okay, they might put on a damn good match, but why should I care?
Mm-hmm. End of the day, why do I care? When you watch football, week 18, and it's the Cardinals versus the Rams, and neither are in playoff contention, why do I care about this stupid game? Right? Same situation. When you have Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr., why do I care? Who is Zack Sabre Jr.? Why is he wrestling Orange Cassidy? What's the beef?
Yeah, it's what call this the dream match show. Like, do that. Like, like we always talk about, like the only reason why you would get away with that, if it was, let's say, AEW versus WWE, then you could get away with it, because now we know why would there be a story, and you could have a month to build a story before this major pay-per-view. Then you got, okay, what dream match you have? Swerve Strickland's the world champion, so he has to go against a world champion. What world champion does he go against? Damian Priest. Awesome. Priest, right? Now you okay. Then you got the international champion. Is that what he is? What?
Will Ospreay. Yeah.
Yep. All right, you put him against Cody Rhodes. Now it's dream match. Now that makes, because then it's like, now they're two separate guys. But when you have people in the same company, there should be a story. There's a reason why this match is happening. Not every match has to be we're just throwing it together. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Mercedes Moné's title match. Stephanie Vaquer. Then you have wait. So Mercedes Moné is the TBS champion.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie's, what champion is she?
The New Japan Pro Wrestling Women's Strong.
Got you. So then you have the AEW Women's World Championship. You got Toni Storm, and she's facing Mina. And then you got, here you go, the New Japan World Championship, Jon Moxley versus.
Just say NATO.
Thank you. Appreciate it. See, just do that. Just, just save me. And then Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland just for the AEW World Championship. So that's tomorrow. You will not be buying that pay-per-view. I'm sure you'll follow it. I'm sure Chris is. Maybe. But anyway, yeah. So that's tomorrow. So wrestling's continue tomorrow. We'll see what happens from there. I may try to find it. I'm not going to buy it. I may try to look for it. I won't. I'll
tell you this. I'm not buying it for one reason and one reason only. I will be asleep by the third match because of how bored I am. The last Forbidden Door I bought, which was last year, I bought every Forbidden Door up until this year, and it's always the same. It's the same people too, Bobby. Same people. Ooh, we get Zack Sabre once a year. Ooh, we get Ishii once a year. Ooh, we get Tanahashi once a year. It's the same people coming in, so it's nothing new. You'd be like, hey, Forbidden Door's coming. Oh, cool. What new wrestlers are we going to get? Oh, the same ones last year. And then the people that were wrestling last year, like a Will Ospreay or Okada, are now on our roster. So it's basically the same people. So it's lost its luster. There's no more Forbidden Door. It's just, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. All right. So there you go. We didn't promote it at all, but we talked about it at least. So AEW Forbidden Door. Hey guys, if you guys are listening or watching and you watch that show, join us next weekend and tell us why we were wrong and it was a great show, or why we were correct and it was a horrible show. But we'll see. Besides all that, Josh, I know you got things to do, brother. Any final words?
That is it, man. I'm excited to see the results of Forbidden Door. I'm excited for WWE going forward, and I'm excited for Money in the Bank, I believe, is next week. So we do got to talk about that.
Yes, we did. That's definitely, we got to talk about that. And of course, we do a post game show basically of the paper. So PLE. So we will be doing that next week if that is the case, and we will do, if not next week, the week after, the What If episode of WCW. What if WCW survived and did the WCW reboot show? But that's Josh Kimmel, the Kimmelnator. I'm the immortal one, Robert Bobby Melendez. And until next time, you'll see Josh and OUS. You'll see me, East 10th Street Boys, or Vince Talk Today, or this. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.
It's the Vince Talk Sports Network, FTSN, talking major sports and even wrestling. Bobby Vince Talk and his FTSN crew, they're taking deep dives just to entertain you. Talking Dolphins, Heat,